Hello, everyone. This is the Psychotic Roadrunner podcast. I want to introduce myself. My podcast will be about. I'm a longtime fan of animation, comic books, video games, pretty much anything that deals with art, from cartooning to graphic design. I also dabble in speaking on things in entertainment and social issues. I don't know if I consider myself a podcast on I think at some point I would like to do like movie reviews on like older movies like Scarlet Street, for example. So I think it was 1940 something. I gotta look up the actual data, but movies like that. And I tend to like entertainment these days, from anything from the 1930s to the, I guess, mid 90s. I'm not a fan of too many movies that's come out. I would say the last 2014 was probably the last time I was in a movie theater, and I think Avengers 2 was the last Marvel movie I saw. So anyway, also want to, as I get my podcast going, there's a lot of things I want to discuss in terms of the state of entertainment and my opinion on those things. I have not been too happy with the way entertainment has gone. It's full of SJW and woke, a lot of wokeness going on in entertainment these days. A lot of identity politics. I wanted pure escapism in today's entertainment, even in comic books, even in the things you would think these SJWs would not be able to get to. They have gotten to it. Video games are becoming weird too. We just got MK11, Mortal Kombat 11. It's becoming weird in terms of they want to cover up the female fighters as opposed to the male fighters, and the fatalities have not been toned down. They've gotten even more graphic, and they're concerned about the female's outfit fits, and they claim it's to be more realistic, and there's no way. It makes no sense at all. But anyway, things of that nature I would like to discuss. Kind of want to do it in, if you ever listen to Bill Burr's podcast or even Joe Rogan's podcast, sometimes I will have a subject I want to talk about specifically, and sometimes I just want to talk about things that's on my mind pretty much. I'm very opinionated, and a lot of my opinions aren't popular, so I may offend. I've come to realize that no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try not to, you're going to offend someone, regardless of how you try to tiptoe around something. I already know. I've dealt with this before. When I was younger, I was in college. I did some artwork. It was as non-offensive as it can be, and still someone's found something to be offended by it, about it. It was weird. I'll discuss that one day. I'll even show the artwork that I did. But yeah, people were offended by that, and it was like, of all things. And this was early mid 90s when I noticed the political correctness was getting weird, but I never thought it would get to the levels that it's at now. It's off the charts, ridiculous. Everybody's offended by everything. So no matter how much you try to be careful with your words and you try to speak as politely as you can, chances are you're going to offend someone. And I can't. Where does free speech? I'm not out to purposely offend anyone, but I also want to be able to express myself like everybody else is able to. And but like I said, someone will find a problem with anything that I say regardless. So I can't really worry about that. I'm not a person that tries to start things with people. I'm not the type of person that tries to. I grew up in a time where you knew what a joke was. I grew up in a time where people did not get so offended by everything. There were people offended by Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer last year. There was people offended by a Christmas song last year. It's like, where does it end? When do you, at this point, we might as well become robots and just not speak at all. You can't force people to believe in what you believe in. You can talk, you can have a discussion, but these people, a lot of these, I don't know if it's millennials or what, but these 20-somethings up to maybe mid-30-somethings are not, you can't debate them because they're not willing to debate. They just want to scream at you and call you all kind of isms and phobics, and there's no discussion there. There's no middle ground with these people. Either you're for them, you're for or against them. There's no middle ground when there's nothing to discuss, because they want to yell. And we call them NPCs. Not aware what an NPC is. It's a non-playable character. You can play like example RPG. You can go to a town. You talk to the locals there, and they are programmed to say the exact. You go and talk to a villager. You talk to them, read their dialogue. You come back. I've done this several times with several games, where to see if the NPCs would say a different phrase. Some games do that. A lot of games don't, and all they do is repeat the same thing because that's what they're programmed to say. That term fits very well with SJWs. They all have the same. They all call you the same kind of names. They don't seem to have an identity of their own. They just repeat the same things the other SJWs repeat, and then they call you this one thing. If you have an opposing view, they all just call you that one thing, and it's like you don't have a single individual thought in your head. You're just repeating everything everyone else says. They're very tribal. I know humans are tribal, but geez. And then I like to discuss things when I grew up in the 80s and movies and cartoons and things I used to watch. They're very dear to my heart. So those are the kind of things I like to discuss. But I just made this video just to give a introduction of what I want my podcast to be. And it's funny. I know when I created comic strips and cartoons, my own comic, I remember it started off as one thing and it totally went into its own direction. It's funny how some things you intend to be one way and then it takes a life of its own. So this podcast could turn out that way. So anyway, I am the Psykotic Roadrunner. Hope you will enjoy, and I hope to entertain. Also, would like to get people to question things that we kind of take for granted. You all have a great day.